Ding. Man, what an intro, I gotta say. With that little drum solo, that's pretty impressive. Anyways, I would like to welcome you to a new series where I basically play through pretty much all the Mario Karts, up until Mario Kart Wii, that is, because that will be a very special occasion. For those who don't know, as of the moment that I'm recording this video, I am pretty close to achieving 50 subscribers on YouTube, which is a big milestone for me because, from what I've heard anyway, once you hit 50 subscribers, you unlock the ability to live stream. And I decided that when I live stream, my first thing that I want to do is to play Mario Kart Wii with some very close friends of mine right now. And I thought, well, since it's still going to be quite a bit of time until then, why not play through, well, not completely play through, but at least play all the Mario Karts up until then, so I can go, like, you know, from the beginning of how Mario Kart started all the way up until the peak, basically. Because for me personally, Mario Kart Wii is my favorite Mario Kart game of all time. And so yeah, this is how we're starting with Super Mario Kart on the Super Nintendo, released in 1992. What a good time that was, I tell you guys. I wasn't born at that point, but for many people I've heard that it was quite a good time. Just look at these wonderful pixel graphics. Doesn't look like much today, but trust me, it has its charm. Alright, starting things off, first Mario Kart, and we have Donkey Kong Jr. and not Donkey Kong as a selectable character. Because back then, I think this was one of his last appearances. Donkey Kong Jr. was in Mario Tennis 64, but I think this was one of his almost last ones. But anyways, we don't have that many characters to select from here. Just, you know, your basic Mario, Luigi, the Princess, Bowser, a Koopa, no Goomba. I'm a little disappointed, I'll be honest. And Toad, and of course Yoshi, who is my favorite character and kind of has always been my favorite character to play as. But since we're going to be playing through the whole game, I'm going to try to use as many characters from this as I can. I will also not be doing 100 and 150cc, and I will explain the reason for that later. So I guess we might as well start things off with Mario. Even though I really don't like him because of what he does to his Goombas. But we will be starting things off with the Mushroom Cup. Alright, like to start that countdown. Okay, now, here's the thing about this game in particular, is I have a lot of respect for it, due to the fact that it started the whole Mario Kart series as a whole. Sure, it's pretty great for doing that. But, here's the thing about Super Mario Kart specifically, and also the reason that I was talking about earlier why I will not be playing 100 and 150cc. The CC in this game doesn't just refer to how fast you will be going, it also refers to computer difficulty. And the computers in this game are not to be underestimated, as you can see right there. Let me explain to you why the CPUs in Super Mario Kart specifically are absolute bullshit. So, first things first. Obviously, as you can probably tell if you've played this game before or are planning to give it a try, you will quickly notice, oh Jesus Christ, I'm already falling banana. Okay. Acceleration is terrible in this game. You will immediately tell that the controls are really hard to get used to. And I feel like I just can't get used to it, because I've played this game at least a couple times before, and yet the controls are still very slippery. Oh my, come on, the second time already. I'm already on the final lap too. And the computers in this game don't act like you would expect them to. They don't play the game the same way that you do. They don't get their items from these little blocks on the ground. That's right, back then they were panels, that's right. They can just get an item anytime they want, infinitely. You can be like right in front of them and they will just throw whatever item they have, second after second. It's crazy. And every character has a specific item that only they can use. Think of it like the special items for Mario Kart Double Dash, except you have no option to get these items yourself. So Donkey Kong can throw infinite bananas. That one's a normal item. But I think Peach has like a mini mushroom that turns you small. Bowser has like a fireball that I think locks onto you. That's really unfair. Yoshi, I don't know exactly what he has. Might be an egg, because I usually play as him, so I don't see him as a computer. And I think, yeah, Mario and Luigi are the worst computers because they can use the star whenever they want. How do you like that? literally opponents that can use the star item at any time. And it doesn't matter if they're in first or last either. They can pull stars in first, which is something that is impossible for the player to do. That is kind of mean. That's just straight up mean. Oh god, that was terrible time. And that's not the only thing. Just on top of that, since the game is so slippery to control, the CPUs obviously drive near perfectly. Like, they will barely ever, they will barely ever mess up. And on top of that, which opponent or which CPU does extremely well actually depends on which character you pick. So, for example, if you choose Yoshi, from what I've collected upon like in the last couple of years of me playing this game, Yoshi's opponent is Koopa Troopa. So if you pick Yoshi, Koopa will do extremely good. If you pick Mario, it will be, I guess in this case, Donkey Kong Jr. because he's currently in second. Oh, and did you see that? The computers can aim extremely well. Like how in the previous race, Donkey Kong Jr. always threw his bananas right in front of me. And here in this case, Koopa threw his, green shell literally right in front of my face. No time to react there either. Just absolutely unfair play. Oh god, the slippery controls are absolutely going to be helpful for me here. So, yeah, I hate to say this and disappoint a lot of the Super Nintendo fans, especially considering this is the game that started Mario Kart as a franchise, but I don't like it. Like, I don't dislike it, but it's definitely not going to be an A or B tier game for me at all. It has my respect for starting this. But it is absolutely not a good game nowadays, I would say. I can play in 50cc just fine, but if you go higher, like 100 and 150, don't even bring up 150. There was no mirror mode at this time, by the way. The game becomes so hard, the computers become so fast, the items are always thrown around right at you, and on top of that, the slippery controls make courses like this, Ghost Valleys, and the Bowser Castles, and especially Rainbow Road, which I don't even think I'm going to be able to show here. Those just become unplayable because you just fall off all the time. I'm glad that they improved with this later on because obviously, the Super Nintendo wasn't even supposed to be capable of 3D games. They used something called Mode 7 to even make it possible for you to see these tracks, even though, Super Nintendo is mostly just a 2D console with 16-bit capabilities. That's also why all of these tracks look so flat, because they are. It's just rendering a 2D image in such a way that it looks 3D to us. There was no way for them to make like different levels or mountains, for example, with these levels. They were all flat 2D images, and that's why most of these courses look alike and are basically exactly the same but with different layouts. You will see that there's like, I think 5 different Mario circuits, 4 different Bowser castles. It's just always the same. You also have Donut Plains, obviously Ghost Valley, which is the one that I'm playing on right now. And what else is there? Rainbow Road is probably, is funny enough, the only track in here that has only one of its kind. What else was there? Koopa Troopa Beach, right, of course. That one recently made a return in Mario Kart World. I have a lot of things to say about that game as well, but I will save it for now because the game is still relatively new. And we've seen that they can patch the game up with updates, so I'm going to shut my mouth about it for now, but as it stands right now, all I'm going to say is I am not happy. But it's still better than this. I am doing pretty good so far though. We're already in round 3, and so far I've managed to get first in every single race. Which doesn't surprise me, 50cc is pretty easy. Alright, we are now in the first Bowser Castle. Now, something you might have also noticed is that in this game, every race lasts for 5 laps instead of just 3, which is what we are used to nowadays. And along with that, every single Grand Prix actually has 5 races instead of just 4, which is why this is not the final one. Everything for some reason was just 5 in this game. I don't know, I guess someone at Nintendo's offices was just upset with the number 5. Upset? I mean obsessed. Hey, you know what? I don't blame them. My favorite number is 2, so, maybe if I were to make a game, I would also like to put the number 2 in anything, but I don't know. Also, something very interesting, an item that was in the first Mario Kart and recently came back was the feather. You might notice that is now back in Mario Kart World, and it made its debut here, and it's not really useful for all that much, if I'm being honest. Like, sure, you can use it to jump over items. I think some CPUs even do that. Sometimes it doesn't matter, though. Well, there's no way to tell if they even have a feather or not, but if you shoot them with items, they will just jump over it if they feel like it. So, even if you have a red shell like me right now and someone's in front of you, if you throw it, it's only like a 50-50 chance if they even get hit by it, because they can just jump over it. But you can do the same. There's just no way to tell if there's one incoming or not. And these Bowser castles, I would have to say, aside from Rainbow Road, have probably some of the worst layouts ever. It's not that bad right now. In fact, I'd say it's pretty okay. It's like bearable. But they are extremely blocky, like even more blocky than other courses in the game. And one of them, I don't know which one, but one of the Bowser Castle courses literally has a dead end that you can drive into, and then you have no other choice but to either drive into the lava or go back. And at that point, you're already in last place and barely have any chance of coming back. It is so evil that Nintendo would put something like that in a Mario Kart game. But hey, it was the first of its kind. They didn't have standards for it, I guess, at the time. And just like that, we've already reached the final round of the Mushroom Cup with 36 points. Another important thing to note is that in this game, you are forced to perform well, or at least somewhat well, because if you get like the first place, second place, third place, and fourth place, that's all good and fine, but anything below that will just result in you getting ranked out, which means you have to retry the course. And that is what that little counter down there above the coin count is used for. You see that it has a card and a number next to it. Those are your lives. Yes, Mario Kart used to have lives. And you would lose one life every time when you would choose to retry a course. Due to, I don't know, either just because you wanted to, or because you ranked out. That is so awful, man. I hate the drifting in this game. It's so untight. Just so rough in general. But anyways, yeah, this game forced you to perform well, or get at least first to fourth, which sometimes is really hard considering the sheer bullshit that the CPUs can pull on you, and the fact that the game doesn't really control the best. Even back then, I would say people had trouble with this. But there is, I feel like I'm just ranting about this game at this point. Like, I do like it, obviously. One good thing that I definitely can say about it is that the soundtrack is pretty cool, but I feel like I'm gonna be saying that about all the Mario Karts, because they all have just such an incredibly good soundtrack. Mario Circuit on the Super Nintendo specifically is one that I find myself listening to every now and then. And I don't know why, it's simple, but I enjoy it a lot. And I really love to see that for one of the missions in Mario Kart World, they used this exact same one. They didn't even remix it. They just brought this exact rendition of Mario Circuit just back on the Switch 2. And when it came on, I just paused the game and listened to it non-stop. That's how much I like it. And there we go, just like that, we have finished the Mushroom Cup with a full score of 45. That is the maximum score that you can achieve in this game. It's not 60, but 45, because you get 9 points for first. Ah yes, and then of course, there is the end screen where you get your trophy and you pop the poor Big Cheep right there. I hope he's doing okay. He disappeared into the clouds back there, into the hills. Well, 50cc Mushroom Cup race. Mario wins the gold. Great race. Yeah, Mario, another gold trophy to add to your probably thousands at this point. Aren't you happy? Aren't you happy? I see you're happy. I hate to see that. Alright, next up, 50cc Flower Cup. This one has to be done with a different character, so let's see. If we are gonna do 3 separate cups, or I think 4, that means I'll only get to play with 4 out of the 8 characters here. And I definitely want to go with Yoshi, because he used to be my go-to. But I think for the second one, since we went with Mario, let's go with Luigi, his badass brother. Yes, I generally tend to prefer Luigi over Mario. And his games. Luigi's Mansion is an a certified banger, just so good. Alright, and here we are, one of the new courses is Choco Island. Oh, I forgot to mention that one. And there it is, there's the feather. It works exactly the same way as it does in World. You just make a big jump with it, which you can use for some shortcuts, but it's mostly useless. Like this. That is barely even a shortcut, but I'm gonna call it that anyway to justify me using it there. And the music here is pretty cool. Now, I do have to say this though, for being called Choco Mountain, or Choco Island, I forgot. For being called Choco Island, this doesn't really look like chocolate. It's clearly mud, but I guess they decided to call it that because it's brown. Honestly, I think that would be pretty funny if that happens. Like, can you imagine if, like, for example, in Arizona, for example, if they called like some parts of the desert Choco something, like Choco Mountain, for example, if that was a real thing, just because it was big and brown, I think that would be hilarious. Alright, just gotta make sure I drift around these corners very, very carefully. Goodbye, Koopa. And just like that, Luigi has won his first race of the day. Reminds me, actually, wait. Who is Luigi's rival? It seems to be Yoshi? Shouldn't it be Mario? I guess it makes sense because, yeah, it does make sense actually because both are green. Which is my favorite color, by the way, if I haven't said that on my channel yet. My favorite color is green, and more specifically, the Yoshi green. From Wii specifically. Like, this green is a little too light for me. It's gotta be a little slightly bit darker. Oh yeah, another really interesting thing about this game that somehow Nintendo never did again after it is that every single character has their own winning theme after you finish a race. So Mario, for example, as you were probably able to hear earlier, has the classic Mario theme, where it just loops the first few seconds of it. Then Luigi has a different one. Luigi's Mansion wasn't a thing yet, so his is like kind of original. Toad has a really light sounding one. Yoshi has a really nice one. Donkey Kong Jr. used to have a really cool one in the beta version of Mario Kart, but then it eventually got changed. And Bowser, I think, has a really cool, sort of metal sounding one. They never did that again, obviously. But honestly, I think it would be pretty cool if they brought something like that back. It's gonna be a while now, obviously, until we get the next Mario Kart. But when we do, that would be one of the few things that I would wish to see, you know, make a comeback. Luigi got like a Luigi's Mansion sounding, you know, track for finishing it. That'd be pretty cool. It gave the characters more character, at the time. Something to associate them with. It's pretty neat. Nowadays, I feel like it would probably be hard though, because the roster has expanded so much that at this point they'd probably have to make like, I don't know, 30 to 40 different, you know, winning songs for every single character. Not for their costumes, just for the character, because that would be way too much work. Nintendo would not do that. Why am I getting hiccups now? But yeah, and it looks like poor Koopa, Princess, and Donkey Kong Jr. as well as Toad could not qualify so far. They haven't gotten any points. I almost feel bad. Almost. And here we are back again at the Donut Plains. Just now notice, this is another weird instance, kind of similar to Choco Island. Why do they call it the Donut Plains? Like, I don't see any donuts. I don't see anything like delicious that they could be referring to when they say donut. This is most certainly a plain looking area. You know, they are plains, but they aren't donut plains. This name was taken from Mario World as far as I know too. Also an area called Donut Plains. There are no donuts! Like, I can see why in Mario 3 they called the donut blocks the donut blocks, because they looked, you know, round and had a hole in the circle. They looked like donuts. But this does not look like a donut, and the racetrack isn't shaped like a donut either, so they had no excuse for naming this the Donut Plains. I don't know. I guess Nintendo at the time was obsessed with naming things after sweets because we got an entire chocolate island and donut plains. What's next? Oh, that was... It literally looked like I voluntarily drove into that. I fucking suck, man. But yeah. Next, you're gonna see Bowser's Castle being changed to, I don't know, Jello Castle or something. And the lava is just Jello. Or maybe it isn't, considering donut plains aren't donut plains. They will just call it Jello Castle. And you'll be like, that's clearly lava. Why is it called Jello Castle? Or maybe just Jello Rapids. I don't know. A racetrack where you race around in Jello. Why Jello specifically? Why the hell did I think of Jello? God, my mind. Now I kind of want to see that, actually. How would you guys feel if Nintendo added a course called Jello Rapids and you just race in, like, a Jello river? They won't be able to get the rights to Jello, but wouldn't that be crazy? Or maybe a soda river, actually. But anyways, all of that aside, I do actually want to know if anyone who's watching this video has played Mario Kart, Super Mario Kart specifically before, and what you guys think of this game. And who knows, maybe if you haven't played the game, watching me play it will give you the inspiration to try it out yourself. Because it is definitely playable right now, obviously, on Switch 1, Switch 2 systems, as well as previous consoles if you manage to download the Virtual Console version of it. It's on Switch Online, which means you will have to pay for it monthly or yearly, which fucking sucks. Man, remember the time when we paid for a game once and then we got to keep it forever and ever? Those were the days, yeah, they're gone. Say bye-bye to those, at least for games that are on Switch Online. But, oh well. But yeah, if you want to play this game, then you very easily can by just booting it up from Switch Online and giving it a try there. You'll even get to use things like save states and stuff, which, trust me, if you do want to do 100 and 150cc, you will need it. The amount of times that the computers will absolutely screw you over, it'll be terrible. They will annihilate you. That is a certainty. It doesn't matter how good you have become at that game, they will annihilate you. With everything that they have. But if you feel like it, then please, go ahead, give this game a shot. And if you feel like, you know, let me know what exactly you like or don't like about this game, then go ahead and drop a comment down there. And hey, who knows? Maybe you'll even become the next Super Mario Kart champion or something. You never know. I would love to inspire that. I know for a fact that a lot of people out there also kind of praise Super Mario Kart for being the first one, and because the Super Nintendo had a great library of games and stuff, so this just kind of adds on to that. There's a lot of nostalgia associated with it too, of course. And I'd be lying if I said that wasn't the same case for me and Mario Kart Wii, because that was the game that I played the most, and during my childhood. There's a lot of nostalgia and bias speaking with me personally, but I'll try to keep most of that aside for these games, and I'll just try to stay as firmly as possible. But I think the general public will agree with me on the fact that the controls for this game are not the best, and that the CPUs could have been programmed a lot nicer. But hey, who am I to tell Miyamoto what to do, right? It's not like you'll even understand what I'm saying. And at the time, the game sold well too, as far as I know. Super Mario Kart obviously, you know, started the Mario Kart series, and at the time it sold so well that they were like, oh my goodness guys, it is selling so well. Mario Kart is going to become probably one of the biggest Nintendo franchises. We gotta make a sequel. And multiple sequels even. And that they did. We all know what came afterwards. Mario Kart 64 was next. And then the game after that was Mario Kart Super Circuit on the GBA, which looks pretty similar to this one because it also uses Mode 7 technology. GBA wasn't able to output full-on 3D graphics, so these two games kinda control and play the same way, just with some very slight differences. One of those being that Donkey Kong Jr., you know, went back to being Donkey Kong in GBA. But yeah. Also, the item boxes are actually item boxes in that one. That's another thing. The CPUs have unlimited items, and you get limited items. Granted, there's definitely more than enough question mark panels on the floor for you to not run out. But theoretically, it can in fact happen because in this game, the question mark panels are a one-time use only. Once you run over them, they will turn red and they will no longer be usable. Instead of nowadays where every single time you run into an item box, it like takes it a few seconds and it just respawns. Or in Mario Kart World, it just respawns instantly. Nope, here you had to make do with the items that you had. You had to use them wisely, and you always have to make sure to remember which item panel you hit to make sure that you don't hit the next one. Did you see that? It is a Yoshi egg! Okay, so I was right. Yoshi uses a Yoshi egg that you can throw right in front of you. I wonder what that would do. Probably the same thing that the green shell or red shell would do, just spinning you out. But either way, that's bad. Oh! There we go. Mario Circuit 3. Man, this one, I've played this course so many times at this point, due to the amount of times that it has, you know, come back and been remade for different Mario Kart titles. And I don't know, on one hand I like this course because I think its layout is pretty cool. Also that one sharp corner is really nice. But on the other hand, I've also heard a lot of people say that they don't like the fact that this one track specifically keeps coming back. I mean, first it came back in Mario Kart Wii, I believe, in the Lightning Cup. Then it was also brought back in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe for the Booster Course Pass. And now it's back again in World as the Mario Circuit Pack, which, as you know, they just call it Mario Circuit, but it's basically a combination of all the Super Nintendo Mario circuits put in one. And that was a close win there. So I don't know. I like this track, and honestly, if it comes back again somehow in the next Mario Kart, I wouldn't complain because I like it. But I also wouldn't complain if I don't see it coming back anytime soon because of how many times it's already been in some Mario Karts. And there we go. That is the Flower Cup also finished. Mario isn't done with winning though. The gold trophy he got previously wasn't enough. He still wanted to be on the podium. There he is in third place now. And Luigi actually has 2 bottles of champagne. Or, I guess, soda or whatever it is. But in the Japanese version of Mario Kart, it is definitely champagne. Because if you win with Peach in the Japanese version of Super Mario Kart, she will drink the champagne and her face will turn red. Isn't that an interesting detail? Alright, well, I guess with that we've already reached the finale of Super Mario Kart. I will do the final cup with the only character that is still remaining on my list. Yoshi. My goat. Look at him in all his 16-bit green glory. And we are starting things off on Koopa Beach. Man, the songs in this game. I just find myself humming them every now and then. Or when I'm playing the game. I will say though, of all the tracks to make a comeback from Super Mario Kart in World, I did not expect, like, yeah, sure, I was happy to see that the Mario Circuits made a comeback, and I was, you know, happy to see Mario Circuit 3 coming back once again. But Koopa Beach is a very interesting pick, considering, I mean, look at the bottom map down there, it is literally, basically just a circle. Nothing all too interesting to say about it, and yet, they decided, hey, we're gonna bring back Koopa Beach. Not even like the second one or the third one, just Koopa Beach, the first one, the circle track. At that point, they might have as well brought back Baby Circuit. Baby Park. But nope, Koopa Beach. And you know what? I can respect that choice. I like the fact that they're going out of the way to choose some interesting choices here, instead of just going with what most people would go with, which was, you know, the Mario Circuits or Bowser's Castle, which one of them was brought back for the Booster Course Pass. Interesting to see Koopa Beach getting a remake. And the Super Nintendo version, no less, because N64 Koopa Beach, that one has gotten its fair share of remakes. Yet they didn't decide to go with that this time. And we will see that one in the next episode, where I will play Mario Kart 64. Because that is the next one, the next Mario Kart that Nintendo made. And there is a lot of things to be said about that game as well. But not nearly as much to complain. Though I have a few things to say about the computers in that game as well, but we'll get to that once we actually, play Mario Kart 64. That'll be a thing for another video. For now though, let's just say it was a very big milestone because they were finally able to do 3D graphics, something that all their previous consoles obviously couldn't do. Their graphics were too limited. Despite being pretty revolutionary for the time, they were quite good. One must admit that the Super Nintendo has some nice looking graphics and some amazing games on it too. But N64 really brought gaming to a whole nother level. A whole nother level of 3D in this case. Mario 64 being the first 3D platformer, the first 3D Mario platformer I mean. And then, Mario Kart 64 being the first 3D Mario Kart. Finally making it able for you to, drive on hills and go down. Instead of just going from left to right, you can now go up and down. You can drive on ramps. No trick system though. That took a long time for them to make. Here we go. You see this? You see this right here? Luigi is currently right behind me. Oh no, actually that's Mario. And he just used his star, which makes an interesting noise when it's a computer using it, and not you. It does not use the classic da 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 da. You only hear that when you're using it. Oh yeah, I can't believe I've gone so far, almost all the way to the end of the game, without even mentioning this. But you'll see that also in this game we have coins. A mechanic that in the Mario Kart series has an interesting space where for a long time it didn't quite exactly know whether it wanted to be a main mechanic or not. Like, it started out in Super Mario Kart being essential, because if you run out of coins in this game, once you run into any CPUs, you get spun out. So you always gotta make sure that your coin count stays above 0. Aside from that though, they basically have no use. I don't think they make it faster like they do in future games. And then they disappeared for a long time. Mario 64 did not have coins. Double Dash did not have coins. DS did not have coins, at least not in its racing aspect, like the versus races and Grand Prix mode. Wii didn't have them, at least, it had them in battle mode, but not in races. And then they came back every now and then, like in Super Circuit, though that made sense, it was also a 2D title. Then in Mario Kart 7, and then in 8 Deluxe, and now they are back once again in World, and it seems like now they have been in like the last couple of Mario Kart games, which means that they will stay for a long time now. Since, collecting a nice little amount of coins now makes you slightly faster. But in this game, they do not do that. They are basically just there for you to pick up and say, hey, I managed to complete this race with 20 coins. That is all. Wow. Impressive, am I right? Yeah, you can tell I don't see the point of points here either. And I can see why they did not really include them in future games until they eventually decided, hey, let's add a use to them and then actually give them a reason to come back. And also add them into the courses that didn't originally have them. So yeah, that's basically all the mechanics of this game pretty much explained. The strange, the interesting, the things that were gone and then eventually came back, and especially the unfair bullshit mechanics. So with all of that out of the way, you can definitely say Mario Kart, in its beginnings, was a interesting series that started out rather unpolished and then eventually found its footing and became a cultural phenomenon, being played by so many families around the world. To the point where now, all Nintendo has to do is say, here's a new console that costs an incredible amount of money. Basically, almost all the money you probably have in your pockets right now. But hey, it comes with Mario Kart, and everyone will go out of their way to buy it. Nintendo slander? Yes, that's right. The Goomba himself slandering about current Nintendo times. I don't quite know what to say, but it's crazy. It is pretty crazy just how much Mario Kart World has already sold. So many different copies. And I don't blame them. The track collection is pretty solid. Just sucks that certain things in the game are, let's just say, leave a lot to be desired. But hey, like I said, updates and patches do exist now. They have no excuse just leave the game like this. It'll be fine. I have my hopes that it will be fine. At least it's not as bad as the Bowser Castle tracks that I'm playing on right now. Although this one at least is like, I would say okay. It's still very blocky, and if you get hit by an item at the wrong time, you can fall into lava pretty easily. And these— oh, Jesus Christ, Mario! They hit me with a star there. The farms can literally completely block the attack one, by the way, because they're all in the way. And if you have unlucky timing and they are all currently down, then you have no choice. You gotta stand there and wait until one of them gets up. Alright, come on. Just gotta make it through this, and we will be almost done. Oh, yeah, there, just like this, for example. Granted, one of them was up, but there was no way of easily getting there. So I had no choice but to, you know, stay there and wait. And Koopa passed me in that moment. But I passed him in the end and got first. Okay. Whew, close one though. And now imagine this, but in 100 and 150cc, where the computers are constantly throwing items, you are going faster, which means it's even harder to control yourself, especially in tight corners like these, where the stage is just super blocky. It is not a fun time, but with save states and rewind, it is okay. But some people might call that cheating, and the fact that certain things that some people would call cheating are almost required for the game to at least be properly beaten. I don't know, man, that says a lot about the quality of the game for me personally. Of course, you can also try to get, you know, all gold cups in this game without using any of that on like a legitimate Super Nintendo cartridge. But trust me when I say it'll take you a while. Not just a while, it'll take you at least a solid week, I would say. It'll be hard. You'll be doing this all day and all night and probably still not be getting too good at it. Like, there, see, I tried to be good. I tried to pull off a good drift there, yet I completely miss it due to this game's shit controls. Shit trolls. I don't know. But it's okay, because from here on out things are going to be slightly better. At least the next game already, I would say, has some slightly better controls than this. That was a good green shell snipe though. Such a shame that I followed it up with going into the sand though. Here's one of these mini mushrooms that Peach can drop. If I drive into that, then I will turn small. And I think you stay small for a little bit, and every single player that drives over you can like squash you and waste even more of your time. Oh yeah, that's also an interesting thing. You don't turn small in this game by getting hit by lightning. The only way to do that is by driving into one of those special mushrooms that only Peach or Toad, I think, can drop. In general, there were a lot less items in this. There is no lightning, there is no bullet fill, there is no blue shell, which a lot of people will probably praise. There is no triple bananas, I believe. There is just... It's pretty basic. There is no blooper. Lots of people will probably praise that as well, because it's a very useless item. And yeah, it's just very barren. The items are very, extremely basic. You only have your basic options here, and nothing else. But hey, it works. At least for this game, it works, because there is no need for the blue shell. You will never be able to get too far ahead to the CPUs where they will need to use that, because they just rubber band like crazy. They will make sure that they are always right behind you. And if they aren't, they will just go faster than you theoretically should be able to. Okay, let's pull up a good drift here. Okay. That was... okay, but not perfect. I don't know, I'm trying to play relatively well here. There we go. Man, he was still right behind me. Like, literally right on my tail. Right on Yoshi's tail. Jesus Christ, Koopa. There is no need to overperform here. We are in 50cc here. But yeah. Oh yeah, one final thing that I completely forgot to mention is that in this game, actually, if you drift for too long, you will spin out. This game punishes you for drifting, which is usually considered one of the pro mechanics of every Mario Kart game. But nope, do that for too long in this game, and you will just spin out like you just got hit with a green, red shell, or maybe even by a banana. Don't ask me why. In fact, this sort of mechanic even returned in Mario Kart 64. I just might show that off in the next episode. Now I do want to check though, if I did unlock something here. Let's go with Toad this time. No, I did not. I know for a fact that Super Mario Kart has 4 different cups. It has the Mushroom Cup, the Flower Cup, the Star Cup, and of course the Special Cup. We are used to those. But you do not unlock the Special Cup until you've raced in, I think, either 100 or 150cc. However, I will not be doing that here. It has Rainbow Road in it, I do know that, as well as a couple other courses. But we seriously do not need to see those. It doesn't really add all that much to the game. We've basically seen most of what this game has to offer. And I wouldn't really want to play that because it is extremely frustrating, like I said. So I'm going to cut it here, and we will move on to Mario Kart 64 in the next episode. And maybe, if you guys really want me to, sometime in the future, I suppose I can grind out, you know, all the other cups and then make a separate video where I just show off the Special Cup, which has, yeah, like, you know, Rainbow Road at the end. But it's going to take a lot of people begging me to do that for me to even consider it, due to how frustrating and just unfair that would be. So yeah, that's gonna do it for this episode. I hope everyone has enjoyed it, and you guys are all looking forward to the next one. Cause trust me, the further we get, the closer we will get to that initial goal, and we will eventually be playing Mario Kart Wii together with some friends on the live stream. My hat is off to you guys. See you all next time!